Side of the law, accused of beating a handcuffed teenager in the back of a patrol car. This all happened over the weekend at a gas station over on Atlantic Boulevard. The officer accused in this case has been in the center of other high-profile incidents. Our Jeannie Blaylock explains how we verified that officer's identity.
Officer Timothy James has been with the JSO since 2014, and in that time we've seen his name pop up time and again for a variety of incidents. Let's start in April, when James allegedly spit on a man outside UF Health. A police report from that incident lists Officer T. James as the victim in that incident because the suspect allegedly spit on James and took a swing at him. Charges against that suspect have since been dropped. Fast forward now to May. An officer hit and killed a man crossing the street on University Boulevard near Phillips Highway. This video shows it involved a cop car. The police report from the incident confirms the only car involved was owned by the city of Jacksonville, and the listed driver, one T.L. James. The squad car number even matches vehicle 183. But when we asked JSO to confirm both officers were the same guy, Public Information Officer Melissa Bejeda refused. She told us it's against the law to name any officer under investigation. Now, this weekend, JSO confirmed they did arrest Officer Timothy James, but they still have not confirmed the same officer's been involved in all these cases. Here's what Undersheriff Pat Ivy told us when we asked again on Saturday.
Florida State Statute 112 is very specific, and that's the statute that covers the police officer's Bill of Rights. It says that we cannot identify an officer under investigation. Okay? I'm here telling you I have arrested Officer James for this. I will say this. I am aware of an incident that happened at University Hospital, and we are investigating.
On your sides, Ann Schindler has been investigating to find out what it takes to get flagged as a troublemaker by the department.
Well, Saturday was the third strike for this officer. He's been placed on indefinite suspension following his arrest. Since joining JSO in January 2014, he's had a string of other issues, none as consequential as this one.
The teenager that Officer Timothy James is accused of beating appeared in court Sunday, hands cuffed to his belt, his face showing the trauma of the night before. First Coast News doesn't usually show the faces of juvenile suspects, but it seemed important in this case to see the damage. Shortly after court, his brother Jesus Campos spoke about his brother's injuries.
His left eye, probably, no, right eye, my bad, all swollen up. He has scrapes on both sides of his head. He has both bloodshot on both his eyes. It's horrible. Officer James' arrest for the beating follows a turbulent couple of months. But even before that, his officer history shows 11 prior discipline matters, including 2 accidents in his squad car, and 6 in-house complaints filed against him by coworkers, including failure to obey an order and failure to be wholly candid. That complaint generated a 10-day suspension. James was also suspended 2 days for violating the department's firearm policy. He also received 3 citizen complaints. The sheriff's office has a program that is supposed to flag troubled officers and get them help. It's called the Early Warning System, and it can be triggered by everything from use of force complaints to excessive sick leave. But in order to start that review, an officer must have multiple issues within a 3-month period. None of Officer James' 11 discipline matters occurred close enough together to trigger the program. And while JSO would not say otherwise, it does not appear he was offered help.
We've learned that prior to joining JSO, Officer James was a Navy sonar technician who served aboard the USS Halliburton. We've requested a number of records in this case, and we will continue pushing JSO for answers. In the Information Center, Ann Schindler, First Coast News.
And we've covered Officer Tim James's involvement in several incidents over the past few months. First Coast News reporter Jason Rantala spoke with First Coast News crime analyst Mark Bachman about some unanswered questions involving the officer. Jason.
A spitting incident followed by a fatal crash, followed by an arrest for battery. But the question for many is, how was Officer Tim James still allowed to work on the street? First Coast News crime analyst Mark Bachman says all 3 of these incidents will be investigated as separate incidents. One of the bigger questions, one posed by the victim's sister after the fatal hit and run, was this: why was Officer James still on the street after the fatal crash in which he was placed on administrative leave? Bachman says Officer James may have satisfied the administrative leave requirement.
They felt like he was suitable to go back out on the streets. Someone made that determination. And I'm sure they came and talked to him and maybe have interviewed him and talked to him at length about what his state of mind was.
And today the charges were dropped against the man who was spit on by Officer James, Daniel Nyman. Bachman says he's not shocked and says that decision was probably appropriate considering Nyman's mental issues. Live downtown, Jason Rantala, First Coast News.
Jason, thank you. Well, another rainy, slushy, sloshy day across the